Alright guys, welcome to another edition of Beginner Breakdowns brought to you by New Challenger. I am Encore and with me as always is KZA. How are you doing today, dude?
Mostly just trying to stay cool. Summer's officially here, you know, and I'm right on the edge of desert, so it's real hot out here.
Yeah, I'm here right in the middle of the country, and yeah, it is just... We haven't gotten to that point just yet, but it's getting pretty close because in the Midwest here, we go through like really big, weather swings. I don't know if it's like that on the West Coast, especially in San Fran. I know it can get, like, with the fog and it being right on the coast, it can get pretty cold just because of that. I lived in LA, like really close to the coast, and it would get to the point where you have to wear like a jacket or a hoodie in like the winter, and yeah, it does get cold, as a lot of people wouldn't think that, but yeah, like I really don't know what's like out there, but yeah, we're getting there. I can only imagine about a month or so now we're all just gonna be miserable.
Can't wait to get through this season. Though not this season of Street Fighter, because I'm really enjoying it, just because they buffed my man Zangief.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm sure you are liking the season. You don't have to worry about anything. This is like the destined season for you guys. This has been like 30 years in the making now. Just about.
Zangief top tier, sign of the apocalypse.
I know, it really is. Alrighty. So we got that figured out. We got a really good show for you guys tonight. As you can see, our first matchup is, of course, the best because my guy is in it. But yeah, we got a good show lined up for you tonight. Thank you as always, for coming around and checking us out and taking initiative to learn, because that is always important in fighting games. You are never too good to learn just a little bit more. But enough about that. We're going to start getting into our matchups. And our first one is Bison versus Rashid. And of course, I really don't have to say a whole lot because I already know who's going to win this, but KZ, I guess I'll let you, spiel on this for a little bit. What do you got for me?
This is kind of an interesting matchup because they're both characters that depend very heavily on pressure, but Rashid tends to use a lot of fast hits, whereas Bison prefers much, longer, slower strings, and they both end up kind of falling in that same category of just fishing for counter hits and chipping away at your health. I think I still have to give this one to Bison, actually, just because of his damage potential compared to Rashid. Like, Rashid is better this season than he has been before. His damage got buffed a lot between seasons 1 and 2, and they didn't hurt him at all in 2.5, but just Bison hurts so bad when he catches you.
He really does, and if this Bison recognizes the matchup and is able to really get inside, then yeah, it's game over for Rashid. He's not going to be able to do anything, and if he can get this Rashid in the corner, then yeah, that's all he has to really do. But he has to watch out for the aerial assault, because Bison isn't known for his AAs. His crouch HP isn't the best, and that's really the only tool he has. He could technically use a stand jab, but his anti-air jab really is like, it's meh. It's really just meh. So we're gonna see how this goes. I'm interested. You're all interested. So let's get into it. Go to our full screen cam right here. And this replay sent in to us from Feckless all the way over from Germany. So thank you for sending that in. Already we got an offensive presence showed off from Feckless here.
Missed that punish. That slide is super punishable. You gotta hit a medium button. You'll get it probably, assuming you're not one of those people with really slow mediums.
Yeah, and here's one thing that I noticed. There really isn't a presence of corner pressure. We saw a lot of cross-ups there in the corner, and that really was not optimal. But this combo right here was a really good job of getting that Bison into the corner and dealing some solid damage, but very not optimal job of using a move right there for the EX head stomp. I feel like you wanted to get out of there, but just not the best move at the time.
Speaking of corner pressure, there, both these characters love corner pressure, so it's important for them to, maybe threaten cross-ups, but try not to actually cross up too often in the corner. You want them to stay there. You don't want to end up there.
Yeah, and it's not worth trying for a cross-up there if you got them in the corner, because it may work at lower leagues, but it's really not worth giving up that corner pressure. Like that's just not good. It's not going to cut it as the higher up you go.
Oof, nasty missed input, but Bison misses his punish too, so I guess it works out.
Yeah, gets a solid V-trigger combo right there, but a good EX DP right there as for a guess. Good block. And now it's just next hit wins, and bad head stomp there. Close out the round. We get have a YOLO Eagle Spike there, followed with a good punish off the slide.
Good. Both people have been using V reversals. That's one thing a lot of people in Silver and Bronze fail to know to do, either using them at all or using them intelligently. The V reversals in this match have been used very intelligently to get out of high plus pressure. That's what they're really for, and it's just something you have to keep in mind against characters like Bison, Rashid, Laura. Sometimes you just got to use that V reversal, get them off you for long enough that you can, regain your composure.
Yeah, and also another example of just not optimal corner pressure, but it really doesn't matter because he took the whole match. But we're definitely going to go back on this and see what we feel is, good to look back on. So, let's do that before the video cuts over, and it's going to do that because it likes being away. Okay, so let's get this video all ready to go. Come on. Okay, so before we get into that, let's have a little powwow. So here's what I took away from this match. Very much a lack of corner pressure. I saw Feckless here. He had corner pressure probably about 3 or 4 times during that whole match, and he neglected it going for a cross-up most of the time, if not all of the time, just to get maybe just going for a lucky guess or something in the other. But every time he went for a cross-up, this Bison blocked it, so it really wasn't worthy of doing that cross-up. And it's really important to realize just how important that corner pressure is, because even though it's Silver League and people are still learning like a lot of the fundamentals and just generally getting a mastery of them, that corner pressure goes a really long way when you want to apply damage. And you can even see around the end of the match where, you saw some more combos, a little bit of a hint of a throw loop. Stuff like that is really important, and really have to keep that in mind that, the higher up in the leagues that you go, that corner pressure goes a really long way. And Rashid especially, he does a pretty good job for his tool set and doing well in the corner. So, stuff like that, it's really good to keep in mind. Don't go for the YOLO cross-up, because most of the time it's just not going to lead anywhere. So, KZA, what do you got for us?
If you could go to one of the points in the matchup where he's just about to start, in the corner, and I just want to talk a bit about we were talking about corner pressure, but how do you actually get corner pressure? So say you're right here-ish, the guy's in the corner. Well, okay, he's hopped out, but so the guy Bison's in the corner. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? So okay, carries him to the corner and just pauses right. That's fine. So now Rashid's in the corner and Bison has him there. So what do you do as a Bison player? Well, it's about spacing and pressure. So you lurk at just that range where you could step forward and throw, or step forward and jab, or you could do a medium or a heavy, or you're far enough back that you can try to anti-air any jump outs. You don't want to be right up on them unless you're already in the middle of a pressure string. You don't want to be too far away because that gives them too much room to move. You want to be in this very nice little pocket where you can throw out buttons and keep them scared, and also threaten other mix-ups, but not far enough away that you're giving up space, and not so close that they can just mash jab and catch you between steps. So it's a very specific spacing, and it's different, a little bit different for almost every matchup, but that's how you really get corner pressure. That's how you get someone who's just stuck there and can't get out, is you have to master that distance.
Yeah, and like you said, it's so important. We really can't emphasize more just how important that corner pressure is, because once you get an idea of how to, if you're in the offensive situation, you got someone back to the corner, if you know how to handle your opponent there, it is just a whole nother world opens up. It's like you're not even playing the same game. The neutral game, for the most part, is essentially thrown out the window in a sense. And then you have to play the corner game. You got to keep them there trapped. You know, you want to really just put yourself at a position to where they just can't get out. And you would need to put yourself to where, you know, if their jump arc is, you want to set yourself like right under generally where their jump arc is if they jumped in at you, so you have that anti-air zone covered, and you need to be able to, you know, hit them with, you know, a general, you know, medium range attack, stuff like that. It's really a whole world that's worth researching in and learning about, because if you can handle that, you'd be surprised how far you can go, especially in bronze and silver, even gold, because a lot of people don't know how to deal with that pressure there. They panic, they just freak out, or anything like that. And yeah, we just can't emphasize it enough. You just gotta trust us there. But there's another thing I want to check out here in this matchup, and we see this Bison, he goes for a lot of aerial attacks with head stomp and double reverse. Now we see, to end out this first round, this Bison goes for the EX head stomp. Rashid here goes for a eagle spike to get out of the way. I'm just assuming, I can't think of anything else that he would do that for, but the main way of this Bison for initiating pressure is by head stomp, and we see him do it a lot. And as we go through here, just like right there, this Rashid here, Feckless, he starts recognizing it and goes for those mixers to counter the double reverses and the head stomps, and it's working out for him very much. And the further we go into the match, he does a little bit more to where these head stomps and double reverses are not as free. No, he's using his anti-airs wisely, and he's getting a lot of damage out of it. See, he went for another head stomp right there, but he knew how to deal with it, albeit on a lucky SFV trigger, or he calculated, whatever you want to call it. But that was a big swing in the match there. Just knowing how to deal with those aerial assaults. And that's super important. We can even go close to the end of the match to end it out. He's still going for those head stomps, and as you saw at the end here, he got burned for it at the end. Went for another head stomp and got caught with a mixer, and that's all it took for him to get burned. So that's pretty much all I have to say on this matchup. Based on tiers and character, if you want to call it that, Bison had the advantage, but overall, he just wasn't playing optimally. He was doing just very basic things and wasn't adapting at all, and that's what burned him in the long run. Even though he got that first round, it just really wasn't enough for him to carry it out. And 0 mixer equals mix-up? No, mixer is his DP. That's his, like, no, he spins around and moves upward. That's his mixer. That's what I mean. But yeah, that's all I really got to say on this match. And KZ, if you have anything else to mention on this?
No, not really. I just want to kind of finish the thought and say, you know, head stopping, we've talked about it before, it's a gimmick. Gimmicks work for a while, and they stop working suddenly, and you lose. You have to adapt to playing without the gimmick before the gimmick stops working.
Yeah, you could just call it that. You know, we could just call Karen stand MK a gimmick or something like that, but until someone actually figures it out. You know, neutral is just a gimmick, let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Can't whiff punish too many input lag.
Yep, that neutral, you know, it's all just games. It's not fair. Okay, so we're gonna get on to our next match here, which is a first for us on the show. We have a Nash and Dhalsim. And who would have thought we we would actually have a Dhalsim on the show, because that's just kind of weird. Who plays Dhalsim, am I right? And also, just look at that name, Elite Jin Kazama. This ain't Tekken. This ain't Tekken. We don't do no Tekken on this show. Why we do Tekken. But this is an interesting matchup, because we got Dhalsim here with obviously a long neutral, and we got Nash with a projectile and some solid specials for an enhanced neutral, if you want to call it that. So, KZA, what do you think about this? Who wins the neutral here in this situation? Because honestly, if you ask me, that inherent neutral, I think he's going to take it. And also, Zero, thanks for the follow. We do appreciate that.
It's not the worst matchup in terms of neutral, because Nash is so evasive and his moves are fairly fast, so he can do a lot of dancing around kind of the edge of Dhalsim range and trying to catch limbs. But yeah, inherently every character is, everyone who isn't another Dhalsim is going to struggle to get in against Dhalsim if Dhalsim is playing intelligently and not just throwing random limbs out. It's difficult, no matter who you are, to get through all that. I would also say, in general, I think Nash is at a disadvantage in this matchup, because the way you kick Dhalsim's butt is that once you get in, you have to be able to do a ton of damage quickly, and that's not really Nash's strong suit.
Yeah, I feel like one of the advantages Nash has is he's got projectile. That's going to help him get inside, but if you can't get inside, he's going to have a problem. He's going to have a real problem. Can't get inside on the Dhalsim, you're not going to do any damage. He's going to chip you out for your life. It's as simple as that. So, let's see how this goes down, because I'm interested. We're all interested. So we want to learn how to beat Dhalsim, because he does dirty things to us. We don't like dirty things, unless we do it to other people. Nice Smurf skin Dhalsim and the Frank Jaeger Nash. Gotta like it.
So Dhalsim, that was a very weird opening from Sim. This is a very aggressive Sim, which is not a thing you see a lot of in anything. And right there, he kind of eats it for, because the problem with aggressive Dhalsim is he's very slow and floaty. So his timings are very odd, and he's very vulnerable for long periods of time.
True. Yeah, Dhalsim typically isn't played so offensively, but this is working out for him. And if you saw right there, he actually used a slide, I think that was a sweep or a crouch MK, to get under that projectile, and yes, it does blow up high attacks. So if you can time those well, they can do very good for you. And we just saw right there, he went for the same opening. Crazy that he did that.
Like, this Nash isn't reacting well, possibly because he just doesn't understand it, but every time that Dhalsim jumps like that, that should be a free Sonic sight to the teeth. Like, Dhalsim's comes down so slowly that it's almost always just a free, what the heck was that critical art? A free anti-air if he doesn't teleport out.
Start to see this Nash, he's taking a little bit more control, chipping out a little bit more damage, but Dhalsim's just sliding around just all day.
Still confirmed there, though.
Yeah, that was a good confirm. He's going to be just a few hits out away from getting the kill here.
Alright, so that was an instant air teleport. For people fighting Dhalsim, that's going to be your least favorite friend, because it's his strongest tool from getting away from you again once you do get in on it. It is vulnerable. What you have to do is try to guess when he's going to do it, and basically be ready to immediately turn around and dash and punish him on as he recovers from arriving at the other end of the teleport. You pretty much can't get it with anything on as it starts, because it's throw immune because it's airborne, and it's hit immune because it's teleport.
And this Dhalsim's starting to be a little bit more cautious with his play, but he's kind of getting handled here by this Nash. This guy's V-trigger.
Dhalsim's V-trigger, in case you haven't seen it before, it does a little bit of damage on startup, but the real trick of it is that if you stand in it, you take a ton of gray life. So a Dhalsim is going to try to keep you in that as long as he possibly can. So you just have to be aware that you can get out of it. One thing you can do if he does it on block is throw him, as that will generally force him enough away from you that you can then dash up and get out of the way.
Yeah, we're not seeing a whole lot of good Dhalsim neutral here towards the end, and this Nash takes it fairly handedly. He's jumping around a little bit too much, and if you're playing Dhalsim and you're jumping like as much as he was, you're really leaving yourself out for attack just way too much, and yeah, that's just not good. You really got to stay on the ground and deal out that neutral with, you know, slides and the like, but if you're gonna go to the air, you really need to know what you're doing, or else everyone is just gonna eat your lunch. It's as easy as that. And yeah, KZA, like, what are your thoughts here? Like, this Dhalsim just wasn't he wasn't playing optimal Dhalsim. Very aggressive and way too floaty, jumping around a lot. And this Nash, he didn't pick up on it at first, but he did eventually. So, like, what do you think are the contributing factors to that?
A lot of, you know, you don't see that a lot, but, you know, people like to try an aggressive Dhalsim sometimes because it is unexpected. It's, you know, it's a strategy that people have trouble reacting to because it's kind of like, okay, what the heck is he doing? This wasn't what I expected. My game plan's all screwed up now. But it's really half of a tool set. The other half is playing Dhalsim's neutral and long range game, because what the game plan is usually, you know, start off with nice long range pokes and, you know, harass them some, whittle them down, and then go aggressive when they're expecting, you know, more long range time to get the big damage and close things out. You know, or vice versa. You know, mix it up and trick people effectively. You know, what that Dhalsim kind of shows is that Dhalsim is not very strong if you consistently engage with somebody. He doesn't do a ton of damage, like, off his combos, and he's very fragile and easy to punish if he screws up. So you can't abuse that tool. It's a specialist tool. It's one you have to use with care and when the opponent is no longer expecting it. And that's kind of the very basics of Street Fighter, right? Almost all characters have this specialist tool and a general game plan, and you want to maintain the general game plan and then pull out the specialist tool once you've conditioned the opponent to not be looking for it anymore.
Yeah, like you said, it's really not worth being as aggressive with Dhalsim because he can't deal the damage out as much as other characters are, and like in the long run, it's just not worth. That's all it is. It's not worth. And you have to play that neutral. Gotta be pokey, and just deal that damage from afar because that's his bread and butter. No other character on the roster is able to deal out damage from that distance with those attacks. So that's what you gotta do. It's a strength. You gotta play to the strength. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So we have reached the halfway point of beginner breakdowns. I know we're moving kind of quick here. That Dhalsim match was pretty good. We also do have another Dhalsim match towards the end of the show, so we get to see some more Sim, i.e. the Sim Gym. But before we do that, we're gonna have a little station identification. If you've ever wanted to play and learn Street Fighter or Tekken or Injustice or all the other fantastic fighting games that are getting released this year, you should check out New Challenger because we have all of those. If you've ever just wanted to learn a fighting game, any of the popular ones that are coming out, then we cover them. We can get you to that get good level. Because we get you good. That's all we gotta do. Simple as that. And if you just want to check us out, check us out. No, it ain't gonna hurt you. No, and all that stuff. Do coaching, one-on-one, group coaching. And if you just want to check out your local, but you're not really too confident in your skills, you know, we'll put you through the ringer, you know, as fun as that sounds, and just get you to that level. That's all we're gonna do, and that's all you really need. Check us out. You got all the information on the bottom there, so I don't need to babysit and walk you through all that. But it is time to get back to the show, and time to get back to our next thing, i.e. matchup. Okay, so this next one is a bit of a change because we have an Ibuki versus Alora, and we know how many people actually love these characters, and the only people who do are the ones who actually play them. So, KZA, you play a grappler, so you obviously know so much about Laura. So why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, Laura is kind of an unconventional grappler. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, all grapplers are trying to get you into one situation where you're guessing whether they're going to throw you or they're going to punch you. Laura's advantages are extremely strong, consistent strings of pressure, including frame traps. You know, a lot of the other grapplers don't have that. Like, Zangief isn't going to hit you with more than a couple of hits before he has to decide whether he's going to go for a grab or another hit. Whereas Laura can keep you going for a pretty long time with fairly safe neutral buttons. And her fireball. That exact combination is why she drives a lot of people crazy, because, you know, it just feels like she's constantly in your face hitting stuff, and every time you try to make a move, you get punched or thrown, and it's just like, well, you know, I might as well just give up. That's, you know, kind of the essence of why people hate her and why she's always been very good this season. Does a lot of damage too off those strings. You know, in a way, I would say Ibuki is kind of similar, but instead of grapples, she uses directional mix-ups to accomplish the same goal. So it's kind of a fight here of two very, very pressure-y, mix-up-y characters, which is always fun to watch.
Yeah, and with those mix-up characters, it's really, like you said, Lithiums, whoever gets opened up is going to lose. Or take just an insane amount of damage. So it really comes down to who's got the better mix-ups and who can open up the other, because that doesn't sound lewd at all. So let's get into this matchup and see what we got.
Interesting choice that both went for the air there. Generally, Laura doesn't want to go for the air, but Ibuki kind of does, because she can get some sweet kunai setups from the air. But this Laura's been solid on the air to airs, so can't complain. Drops that.
Yeah, there's some very basic combos being dropped here. So we're not going to see too crazy opening up, but that was a good combo right there. It'll get a little damage. Just one hit away to get a kill. Ooh.
That's actually a very good decision, because, you know, he had the V-trigger fireball lurking over Ibuki's head, and if that's going on, you can almost certainly guess that Laura's going to try something. That's a great time to EXDP. See, same situation again.
Good open up from Laura there, pushing the Sabuki into the corner. Sabuki isn't having it.
Interestingly, like, corner pressure is good for both these characters, but neither of them really relies on it. Both are still quite strong in the neutral.
Yeah, and the Sabuki just eats this Laura's lunch. And I feel like just by general pokes and the like, just outplayed her so much. And yeah, that's really all there is to say. Just, the neutral was so... There's just a big indifference in who had better buttons there and who was pressing smarter buttons.
Let's kind of play through it again, because, you know, what we said there, you know, it only applies if you're able to get damage on those mix-ups. Like, right there, that was not Laura's turn. You know, after the light elbow, she's -2. She was that's the spot where you need to hesitate and figure out what you're doing. But Laura tried to do something, got counter hit. You know, what you're seeing here is kind of two people who don't completely understand their characters, don't completely understand the matchup, and haven't got their combos down. So it does, at that point, really come down to who can just land more hits. And that's going to be very common for new players. You know, they're not there yet with their combos, they're not there yet with their setups, so it just comes down to who can consistently hit the other guy more. You know, and then that balance starts to shift as you learn how to actually do damage, because then you can hit someone 4 times and kill them, and they can hit you 10 times and not.
Yeah, and at that level, if you're just getting basic pokes and hits and the like in the neutral, the biggest and best way to do that is just by differentiating highs and lows. And that's generally an instinct when you're learning a fighting game, or if you're just not that used to them. just mix up high and low neutral moves, and you'll get a fair amount of damage out of it. So just mixing those things up, it does help, but as you develop as a fighting game player, you'll learn those combos and the general mix-ups, and it's really just building off that general idea of, hit them where they ain't. And that's really all it came down to here, and the Sabuki just did it way better than this Laura, and that's all it came down to. Alright. KZA, if you have any more to say, unless you don't, because this was kind of a blowout here.
Yeah, I mean, Laura really only got one real combo in that whole thing, and the Buki got like 3 or 4. So it's, stacking on top of what we've just gone over. First you get those hits, and then you get conversion and actual damage off of them. So, that's the advantage there. That's all it really was. If you watch that again carefully, I suspect, and I'm pretty sure if I was by my mental count, neither of them was really initially hitting more often. Just that the Buki, upon hitting, was getting more damage, and then over time adapted. Whereas Laura kept trying the same things. If you get hit by every single EXDP that gets swung around, it's because you're doing the same thing over and over. That's pure fact. And this Laura gets hit by every DP, which means that she's trying to do the same strategy, which is hit buttons, even when the other guy is, she should know that that's a possibility.
Yeah, and you could tell that most of those neutral hits were, they were done on counter hit, because this Laura was pressing so many buttons. She was destined to get hit so many times, and just pressing super unsafe buttons or just unoptimized neutral buttons. That's what that leads to. And as a player, you start to recognize it, and you learn fairly quick that it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be pressing so many buttons, because all it takes is facing some characters like Bison or Geef, to where it's like, okay, I probably shouldn't be pressing so many buttons because I'm just getting destroyed every time I face these two characters. And it's like, okay, I'll play a little bit more conservatively. And it's like, oh, I'm playing a little better. I think I'll try this out some more. So, I think that's really all there is to cover in this matchup. So, let's go and check out our last matchup of the night, which is Sirian versus Dhalsim. As opposed to the last matchup we had, which was Nash and Dhalsim, we have Sirian here, which has still a fireball, but also has some better neutral. So that begs the question, does Sirian have a better chance here?
I would say he's one of the strongest characters against Dhalsim, just because it's not only just his neutral, but he has all these distance covering options: violent knee drop, chariot tackle, even headbutt if you're feeling really cheeky. Just the ways to get across that distance and even intercept the limb coming out and just close up on Dhalsim. And that's not a thing a lot of the other characters have. There are very few characters who can close a gap as well as Sirian can. The only other people I would say is pretty much Balrog.
Yeah, Balrog just destroys everybody. That's his gimmick now. So, yeah, I'm interested in seeing how this plays out, because I feel like, yeah, like you said, Sirian is gonna have an inherent advantage here, and I do feel the same. Already, we see a fireball game being established, and this Dhalsim goes in very aggressively and gets pushed in the corner right away.
The thing to keep in mind is all those teleports, those aren't real. Those are super unsafe. It's just that you get confused, you don't realize what side he's on, you don't hit the right things. Unless he's teleporting on you while you're down, any teleport is going to arrive slow enough that you should be able to hit him before he can do anything.
We see a good Aegis setup here. He's going to get some solid damage. And a reset for stun. Yes, it will be stun, but it ain't going to kill. It'll be very close to kill. Ooh, just get the spicy combo right there.
Yeah, so this is honestly, I'm surprised this guy's in silver with this Urian play. Like, unless he's like really, really bad in neutral generally, having practiced enough to get that sort of solid setup and combo generally implies someone who, has a decent understanding of the game. But sometimes you get people who are really, really good at those combos and things who are just terrible in every other aspect of the game.
Yeah, just, combo monsters and the like.
So what the Sim's not really doing here is, like, the Sim has been losing every time he gets up close. So, if I was playing the Sim, my response would be to try to gain some distance and then, get back to that slow game like that. Keep this guy out, but the Sim keeps trying to go in. And when you're playing against certain characters, when you're playing as certain characters, you've got to understand that you really don't want them to be in. You don't want to aggress. Like, this is a very aggressive game, but you still have to understand there's times to do it and times to not.
Yeah, and yeah, this Urian just knew what to do pretty much a lot of the time. I will do a quick once over here in a second, but let's give a little, post-match analysis here. And, like, is he a sandbagger? Is he a smurf? Possibly. Maybe. Who really knows? But, he was doing some pretty slick stuff. But the neutral was good, but it was, like, around silver level. The combos, yes, they were higher level. But, this was fairly balanced. This Dhalsim just wasn't playing very well for a Dhalsim. Way too aggressive, a little bit too careless. If this Dhalsim was, if he stayed in, or, kind of, what am I trying to say here? If he played more conservative, kept to his neutral, kept his distance, he would have had a much better time here, like we saw in the first Nash fight. That's all you gotta do. You don't need to be going for these hard teleport setups or anything like that, because you're just gonna get, your face punched in because they're super unsafe, and frankly, they're really just not gonna get you anywhere for the most part. It's a very gimmicky thing, and you have to realize that right off the bat, and once you start getting to the high silver and gold level, people start to realize, oh, teleport, I could punish this like the easiest thing. So, KZA, what are your thoughts here? You got a special point in the match here that you feel was important?
Not particularly in this match, but I just want to quickly go over. Neither of these Dhalsims really displayed it, but a lot of people get frustrated fighting him, right? Because you start far enough away and he starts just hitting these buttons that feel like they go forever, and you can't get close. So I just want to mention some ways to get around him for people who are watching and trying to figure that out. First off, lurk just outside of his range and start swinging heavy buttons. If you can catch one of his limbs with a counter hit crush counter, it'll knock him down, then you just dash up. So that's one way, especially at good timing or he's doing them kind of rhythmically. The other way, and the way that you're going to have to do more often, is to just walk and block. Just back him up and then force him to either teleport, upon which you can try to catch it and punish it, or until his back's to the wall, in which case you can close the gap and start hurting him. So I just want to note that, because neither of these Dhalsims really gives a good opportunity to explain it, but it's a common complaint from new players. He drives people crazy. I just wanted to make sure that it's on the table.
Yeah, and that's really good advice, because I still have a lot of problems with Dhalsim, and a lot of people don't know the workarounds, and I'm still trying to figure them out, and I'm in Diamond, and I still have a lot of these issues. But yeah, like you said, it's just finding those little things to get around that far neutral game, because once you get inside, then a lot of those problems go away. Dhalsim doesn't have a lot of health, his defensive options are pretty bad, for the most part. So once you circumvent the long neutral range, you're got it made in the shade, essentially. But, just figure out, with your main, what can you do to punish those long neutral buttons? What heavy buttons work the best to counter poke or whiff punish? stuff like that. You know, you just gotta think about it. Go in the training mode, set a Dhalsim to do some of his longer reaching attacks, and just practice that, because it really goes a long way. Trust us on that. It goes a really long way. And you know, I would give some more in-depth Dhalsim advice, but I just don't really know that much about Dhalsim, considering I don't have a lot of experience playing him. All I can really tell you is just, you know, work around his neutral game, because once you do that, you're good to go. And also, don't fall for his teleport shenanigans, because they're fake as can be. Yeah, that's all I really got. So, as we wrap up towards the end of the show, it's been kind of a quick episode. We got some shorter matches, but nevertheless, informative ones. KZA, what do you feel was the overlying, you know, message, theme, whatever you want to call it, today? You know, we got some Dhalsims, Rashids, and the like. We got some weird positioning things going on. You know, what do you got for us? What's our motif for the week to send everyone home happy?
That sounds like I should get a wheel for this, Animaniac style. But honestly, I think the thing that all 4 of these matches share, that I kind of want to tell our reviewers for this week, is play to your character's strengths, not their, you know, don't go for gimmicks. Play to your strengths. In the first match, Bison, you know, kept trying that gimmick jump, and Rashid kept putting himself in the corner. That's not playing to your strengths. That's giving yourself, that's giving the opponent an opportunity to take advantage of a weakness instead. Nash versus Dhalsim, Dhalsim got way too aggressive. His advantage in that match is his range. You have to take advantage of that. You can't, you know, just go for things and hope they work. Laura versus Ibuki, neither of them were really taking advantage of the damage they could put out. And then finally in this one, same problem. Dhalsim didn't really try to take advantage of his strengths. He just went for that aggressive game quickly. Your character has a game plan. Your character has a set of strengths that kind of guide them down a certain strategy. And you should take every advantage of that you can. It's not, you know, playing your character weirdly will get you some wins because people won't expect it, but as soon as people adapt, it falls apart quickly. You have to at least be able to fall back onto solid playing to your strengths.
Yeah, because, yeah, you have strengths for a reason, and that reason is to be able to exploit other characters with those strengths. You know, Bison does well with pressure and the like. If you play him too far back, he's not going to be able to do anything. You're handcuffing yourself, and that leads to a lot of problems, obviously. And with Street Fighter V, a lot of the characters are engineered to play a certain way that, you know, you have to play him like that. With Dhalsim, you have to be more conservative and play him at a certain range. But what else would I say? Ken is Rushdown. You gotta, you know, be up on their nuts if you want to do well. Stuff like that. You know, you have a character, you have strengths, and you have to play to them. Really all there is to say. So, that's pretty much all we got for tonight. And thanks everyone for coming around. We do appreciate you coming around our parts to learn and improve as Street Fighter V players. And I do have to say, we are thinking of doing some sort of beginner breakdowns for Tekken and Injustice, so just keep that in mind, because we may just have something bubbling in that direction. But if you're in the Discord, you could stay tuned with all that news. But until then, thank you everyone for coming around. I am Encore. And with me, as always, is my comrade, KZA. Thank you, everyone, for coming around. Have a good weekend, and we will see you in 2 Fridays. Count 'em 2. Alright, we will see you guys later.